Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as usual, let's go over the market, see what happened today in the market itself, and see what we can expect for the rest of the week. And maybe leading into next week very slightly. So no camera today, guys, but maybe I'll come back soon, but not important. What's important is what is this market that we are in? So Tesla ending the day up actually 0.7%. It's the first red candle. So this is the first red candle we've had ever since we started this unbelievable streak. I think Apple is actually still, wow, Apple is still very much green. Like Apple still looks really bullish. It's just like unbelievable, like truly unbelievable. And then the S&P and the QQQ both ending quite positively as well. It looks like a hammer candle or a hanging man candle. These candles are very confusing when it's up this high on a massive run, because usually these kind of candles tend to show a reversal. Usually when it's happening after a massive run, it tends to signal a reversal because it's called the hanging man. It's a little bit weird, and I don't think this one is super reliable personally, but you know, in theory, this is supposed to be a fairly bearish candle, but I wouldn't give this one very high reliability just through technicals. So, you know, who knows what will happen with that, but let's look at Tesla. So Tesla ending the day just shy of 1100. Now, a little bit sad because I actually woke up like extra late today. I missed a really good play that I could have had. So essentially, as Tesla opened up, pre-market it was all the way up in like the 20s or something like that. Then it opened up all the way down here, ran straight up, pretty much exactly touched the 1115, which we talked about, right? That was the target. It hit it exactly on the head, almost perfectly. And then it just essentially fell down for the next like hour. If I was awake, which I wasn't, I'm really sad, but this right here was a gorgeous place to swing or day trade, because there's a lot of support on this area. This is like 11 or 1070, 1072, kind of that general like low 1070s area has a good support. Could have been a great place to pick up some shares, you know, maybe like 20 shares or something like that, you know, and swing it for the day. This would have been, in my opinion, a pretty free swing. Could be just saying that in hindsight, but it was a fairly decent area to accumulate and look for a swing. Nonetheless, Tesla ending the day just under 1100, right? Which isn't that bad. Now, like I said, this is the first red candle that we had. But this isn't like the worst red candle to have. Like for instance, if this candle, like the main body of the candle was like at the bottom here instead, that would have been pretty bearish. The fact that it's still up here, it's like the bearish aspects of this candle are somewhat outweighed by the somewhat bullish aspects of this candle. So to the point where I would honestly say it's a fairly neutral candle. I wouldn't call this a bullish candle, but I wouldn't really call it a bearish candle. The one thing that is bearish is the fact that the price did close under from where it opened. So the sellers dominated because, again, you know, the buyers couldn't keep it above the opening price. That's bearish. What's bullish, however, is the fact that number one, it did fall down this low and the buyers did step in, but more importantly, the fact that it still ended higher than yesterday's close. So that part is bullish, which is why this candle is giving a lot of kind of mixed signals. To me, this kind of shows a little bit of indecisiveness, where it seems like Tesla doesn't really know where to go here. The buyers and the sellers are both kind of fighting. The bears and the bulls are definitely fighting here. I think there's a pretty big battle happening. And it's like pretty undecided as to where it wants to go next so far, because there's both bullish and bearish aspects happening all at the same time. Now, you can see we're already going to be trading in this channel. Now, pretty much the main thing to look out for, guys, the easiest way to determine if we're going to be breaking up to more bullish momentum to the upside, or is going to finally start the long overdue bearish play, or the, you know, the gaffle in this case, but just an overall breather, which, again, I've been saying this for days. But it's kind of hard to predict when it'll happen sometimes, because when you start these gamma ramps like this, these gamma squeezes, especially on Tesla, they can get pretty fierce. And it pretty much just breaks through all technicals, because it's not playing off of technicals anymore. It's hardly even playing off of just supply and demand, support, resistance as much anymore. It is very slightly, but like much less so, because there's just way too much momentum pushing it upwards. Up until that momentum stops, you know, it's hard to predict where it'll go, or like how far it'll go, where it'll start retreating. Very difficult to do that. But once you start seeing a consolidation like this, is where you can start assuming that potentially, you know, it'll start going, you know, down or maybe up more, of course. But this is where usually the move gets decided. And this is what it seems like Tesla's going to start doing throughout this week. It seems like I wouldn't be surprised to see some consolidation around this area. Now, if we break above 1115, intraday, of course, then I wouldn't be surprised to see some more upside. It would be kind of ridiculous in my opinion, and I really would be surprised, but it's technically not impossible. And if that happens, I would expect to see something around the 1130s. That would be my price target if we somehow break 1115. Probably another 15-point move to the upside. would be my guess. But the other thing is if we break below this 1170 area, then I expect it to start looking for potentially a fall down to this 1053 area for sure, like this kind of, mid 1050s area. And if support does not come in here, which I don't think it'll be too great of a support, I wouldn't expect this to be too reliable, but I would definitely expect it to start falling down, potentially get a bounce around 1040, but ultimately definitely look for the gap fill in the low 1000s. That is the first thing I'll be looking for. And then we'll of course reevaluate once it gets there, because it will get there at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. And then we'll see what happens. Now, another way to pay attention to look at, whether or not there's still like steam left in this run, or, is, I guess, the momentum kind of dying off, is this line here. This line is the moving average, the 5-day moving average, simple moving average. So you can see pretty much this whole run, ever since we broke above it, kind of came down, bounced off of it, and has pretty much held this momentum above this line, constantly running over and over and over, just like, the momentum is just there. It never really broke below it. So another indicator to look for, whether you want to maybe find out if the momentum is finally dying, or maybe it's time to maybe pull back, etc., is if we finally cross underneath this line. Currently, the line is sitting at about 1043, so definitely still pretty far below, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla consolidates, maybe tomorrow, maybe even Thursday, and then maybe Friday is where it dictates the move, which will set up into next week. Now, one play I'm personally thinking of doing, so, for full transparency, I am essentially full cash right now. I'm like 99% cash. I did sell out substantially too early, but, it's kind of hard to predict these kind of moves. Sometimes I kind of regret doing it. I really enjoy trying to like min-max and try to like, really find, and sometimes it works out amazingly, but sometimes it definitely bites me back. And in this case, of course, I got bit back pretty hard. But it's fine. It happens. It's just kind of have to move on and accept the fact that, it is what it is. But one play I'm personally thinking of doing is it's like a neutral, maybe semi-bullish-ish play. But essentially what I want to do is I want to buy shares and then sell calls, so weekly calls for this Friday. And what I want to do is I want to sell them. So essentially, let's say I buy shares like somewhere around this area right here. Like let's say 1085 as an example, roughly. I don't know, like 1085, I buy shares. And then I'll sell somewhere around a 1010 weekly call, so for this Friday. And essentially what that means is I'll take the premium, and then as long as Tesla by Friday's end does not end the day on Friday, by the time the market closes below $1,010, which I don't think it will, not this Friday, that essentially means I just keep that premium. I keep that profit. And the overall net profit, obviously because my shares that I'll buy will go down, right? And I'll be selling the shares at pretty much 1,010 period, unless of course it drops below. But the point is that I get to keep the premium from that contract. And it's overall a bullish sort of play. It's a neutral play. It's a play that's just saying that I don't think it'll drop below 1,010. And if it doesn't, then cool, I get to keep the premium, and the overall net profit is positive in my favor. That's essentially the play I'm currently looking at, and I might do it tomorrow. I just want to see how tomorrow opens up, and I want to see how tomorrow plays. The other option is I'm looking just to potentially just go in and out and swing and scalp Tesla as I'm patiently waiting for a retracement. That's the other option. But regardless, that's essentially what I'm seeing there. Again, taking a look at the RSI, you can see the MACD is actually on the 1 hour starting to curl to the downside, which doesn't mean too much. It just means that there's potentially some consolidation coming up, because you can see here it curled down to the downside, but it didn't really go down. It just consolidated. Same concept here, I think. It's just going to signal that there is going to be some consolidation here for probably a day or two. Wouldn't be surprised as the 5 moving average kind of catches up to it on the daily. But you can see the RSI, so even though we're up here, the RSI is down here compared to what it was over here. All right, so it's still setting lower highs, even though we're setting higher highs on the actual chart itself. Same, on pretty much every single time frame. Right, you can see here it's kind of moving downwards. This is looking like it's setting up a nice little bull flag in the RSI. But the point is that it is going higher slowly, while the RSI is going slow or lower. So you can see here on the 30-minute, we're going higher. Like we're slowly inching away higher, little bit by bit by bit. But the RSI, bit by bit, is going lower. That is a bearish divergence. So keep that in mind, guys, that, again, we talked about these before. It doesn't happen instantly, but this usually signals that there is going to be some retracement on its way sometime relatively soon. Could be tomorrow, could be end of the week, could be next week. But there is a decent chance that there is a retracement on its way. So keep that in mind, guys. But that's essentially what I'm seeing right now. Last thing I want to show you guys is, of course, going to be some potential flow action happening over here with Tesla on unusual whales. So one thing to look at is I set this for this current week. I set it to a premium of I believe I set it to over, I can't remember what I set it to actually. I set it to over $100,000. So essentially this is showing me the plays that people put in today. Well, throughout this week, I guess, but like mainly today for this week, right? So you can see today is what, the 29th. So there wasn't too many today. It was just this one bullish play, I guess, somewhat bullish play with the 144K premium. Nothing too crazy, but this is for $100,000 plus, right? So this is essentially what you want to be looking at, or you can look at it throughout this week. So the 28s are all pretty valid over here. You can see this was yesterday, of course, you know, people putting in their bets. So you can see it's a bullish or bearish bet. The biggest one here was a 2.5 million bearish bet, where essentially if you click on it, it's a double play, which I forgot what they're called. They're called a multi-leg options strat, where essentially he's buying and selling puts. What this means, TLDR, or if you're not really aware what this means, essentially is what he's saying is he thinks that Tesla, he sold the 1100 put, which essentially means for this Friday that he thinks Tesla will end this Friday below 1100. Where doesn't really matter as long as it's below 1100. But then he bought a 1200 put, just in case he's wrong. Just in case he's wrong, this is like a semi-hedge, if you will. But essentially, he's betting that Tesla will end the day, or the week rather, below 1100. So that's the biggest one to kind of point out. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does end the week below 1100. The question is where below 1100? I personally don't think it'll be below 1000, but I do think it'll be below 1100. So I do think it'll end somewhere in this range this week. The question is just where. But either way, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.